you know, we're pretty expert on Zoom at this point, but we do have quite a bit of people on this particular session. So if you don't mind, when you're not speaking, if you could yourself, it will help us a little bit with background noise and all that kind of stuff. And we are going to probably, we'll see how it goes, but we're probably going to ask that if you have questions during the presentations by the states or by me or Trina or Mary, if you would do those questions in the chat. I think Scott and Trina are going to be monitoring that area, and we'll try to answer as many as we can. But with such a big crowd, it's kind of hard to manage the facilitation of getting people on and off. So my name is Sandra Flansburgh. I'm Director of Membership and Communications in the National Office, and I am so excited to see you all today. I know I email with you, many of you on a daily basis, and we'll be doing more of that for some of you who are fairly new. But you know, sometimes we get to do in-person leadership conferences, but one of the fun things about the Zoom conference this time has been membership chairs here. So welcome, especially membership chairs, and I hope we can keep this going into the future. But today we have a variety of people from the states. We've got presidents and president-elects. I think we've got some district reps internal to states. We have some membership chairs, and so it's going to be a great crowd today. In terms of just general overview of what we're going to cover, I want to give just a very fast snapshot nationally about what membership is in ACDA right now and kind of the things that are going on. I'm going to outline some of the challenges that from my perspective, nationally, we face in membership during these crazy times, and share a couple of framing messages that I'm hearing out in the membership world. I'm not a choral conductor, but I've worked in membership with a lot of different organizations from time to time, and a lot of people are talking about similar things. And then one of the things I'm most excited about is, you know, you hear from the national office, but what membership looks up like on the ground really is what you all are doing, and I try to keep a firm foot planted on that. So a lot of you replied to my request to hear a little bit about what your biggest challenges are and what you're doing in response. We could only select a few, but I'm excited that they agreed to talk to you, and I know that we're missing a lot of other input from the states, and I hope we can figure out a way to keep going on that. Then we're going to talk a little bit about some of the tools and resources that we have here from the national office, and Trina Kopaka, our membership and communications coordinator, will help do that. And Trina, if you're on, could you just unmute and say hello?
Hi, everybody. I'm Trina Kopaka. I've probably spoken with most of you at one point or another, either via the phone or email. It's so good to see all of you and put faces with names. And I'll be chatting with you guys later.
Thanks, Trina. And Mary, I'm going to surprise you too. Mary is a former national ACDA president, and I think you're chair of the Past Presidents Council or something. But Mary's going to close us out today with some other kinds of things that you'll need to know. But say hello.
I'm happy to see you all. That's, you know, all of us on national committee on the national EC either started out as I was state president and then region president, so I've been where you are, and really happy to help out in any way I can.
Thanks, Mary. And I know that David Freiling, our national president-elect, was originally, is he here? Yes.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Good to see you. Sitting next to my wife.
Thanks. Okay, so just a real quick snapshot of membership in ACDA right now. We currently have between 16 and 17,000 members. And before the pandemic, when I was you know, thinking about membership strategies for the year and things, I was noting that like by the end of December last year, we had just under 17,000 members, and the goal was going to be to raise that by, you know, 500 to 1,000 members and hold that. We kind of go up and down a little bit through the year. That's why these are very round numbers. In 2019, we added over 3,000 new members, which was really good, and that's pretty much in line with the good years that we've had in the past, which were kind of using 2016 and 2017 as good years when we were very healthy and growing. And that includes a gradual increase in the number of new active members for the past 3 years. So, you know, active members are kind of our bread and butter. And when we see a gradual increase in that member type, that's a really good thing. One thing that I was noticing was that the number of new student members had been falling for the past 4 years. And so I think that's a challenge overall, and I think it's not unique to ACDA. Students tend to be less interested in membership organizations, but we have a lot to offer them, so there's ways we can approach that. And finally, our member retention was also pretty good. We had a couple of years with some challenges because of a new database we were trying to make work, but we had built back up so that by 2019, our overall retention rate was about 80%, which is pretty good. And our active member retention rate was 86%, which is good. And I will say that probably in our best years, we were probably at 90%, 88% for active memberships, and just a couple of points over the overall retention rate. But we were starting to look really good. Of course, things changed a little bit, and there's a lot of uncertainty right now. So, you know, I know you all are facing this, but we kind of think that we need to reevaluate a little bit what's happening given the pandemic and the shutdown and a lot of things arising out of that. So you all are very in tune with the questions about the safety of choirs singing together in one place, performances, timelines, like what that means. There's a lot of uncertainty that we're having to deal with, and our members are certainly dealing with. And I also want to make a strong point that that's going to vary by region. I think some regions have been hit very, very hard and are still being hit very, very hard. Others not so much, or you know, maybe in the future. So it's a hard time to be developing plans and strategies. But today I want to just throw out some things, and then we're going to hear from states that are doing some very good work. So, you know, some of the really important things that we're seeing from the national office are questions like, how do you balance some of this stuff? We know that a lot of members are worried about their jobs. We know that some are worried about their programs, and all of that will likely have an impact on membership. And so we have to be proactive in thinking about how we're addressing that. But I have to say that one of the things that I really love about working with choral conductors, and I love it working with artists in general, is that you all are incredibly creative and think outside the box, and you know, tend to be maybe a little bit more flexible and innovative than some other people. So I've been motivated by hearing some of what's going on in the regions and states. So I hope that you leave feeling that as well. So I wanted to just give you my read a little bit, and then I would really love to hear some of our panelists' thoughts if you have time, but also, you know, let's carry on this conversation going out of this. ACDA is a membership-based professional association for choral conductors. So memberships are really central to who we are and what we do and what future we have. Moving forward, when members are making tough decisions about which memberships they want to keep, we really have to be felt as an essential membership. And that's, you know, that's true of every member association in the United States and probably the world at this point. And all of them are trying to think very hard about how they are relevant in this, in this world. So as we move out of this first wave of the pandemic and into more uncertain times, I think that we're really going to need to be able to talk about what we did, how we reacted, what we did that was relevant and decisive, because, uncertainty is one of the hardest things to manage, I think. So we've done, I'm sure that you've heard in other sessions, but some of the things that ACDA National did were, there's been a couple of webinars, infamous and famous, and there's another one coming up next week. We started a new weekly Wednesday member email that I keep trying to pull it back to be short and inspirational and just share ideas. That's an ongoing challenge. We have a resource page on the national website. You heard Tim hopefully talk about, and the EC talk about some of the research projects we're helping to fund and get people involved with. I was particularly excited to hear from the EC that there's a COVID-19 response committee being formed and that they will actually have something to share with us by June 15th. So that's all really exciting work. I know that on the ground in the states and the regions, even more is happening. But there are kind of two pushes that I see when we're talking to members in these kinds of times. One of them is, and both of them are missional. So one of them is that mission of inspiration is really important. I think, some of the most responses I've had to emails and presentations and things like that in the beginning were just people needing connection and needing to get out of the day-to-day life. So I pass that along. I know that you're doing a lot of work already, but I think that that's something people are really responding to. And then I think that you've heard in every single session so far this day, advocacy, advocacy, advocacy. And some of the state presenters are going to be talking about their efforts at the state level. I'm excited to see some of the work coming out of the Advocacy Standing Committee, but that's going to be integrated really, and hopefully most of the work that ACDA will be doing over the next year and on. So I would be interested in your feedback on that at some point, either during the session if we have time or afterwards, and especially in terms of what you're doing in the states. So one of the things that a national office can do for states is we have some kind of membership infrastructure to help you. So we collect and share member data and tools that you'll need to know who your members are and how to work with them. We have a member welcome process from the national office, which includes, email confirmations if you join by online. There's a letter and a membership card that goes out to every new and renewing member. There are emails, especially designed to help people get on board to ACDA and know where the resources are and so on. That's an automated series. We welcome them at various points during their first year. So there is that kind of national view on helping people get situated in the association and figure out what we do and how they can get involved. I know states, several states have very robust welcoming. We also have a solid renewal reminder process. So that involves, these days you have to go through every medium. So we send out a first renewal reminder postcard 3 months out. We send out a letter with a membership form 2 months out. There's emails, there's texts, there's a sticky note on your last Coral Journal. So we try to get to members in every way, and amazingly, we still miss some people who didn't know that they were expiring. We also have just a regular communication system that it has always been like kind of a monthly e-newsletter. Since the pandemic started and people were kind of thrown into a new world, we started a weekly, mostly Wednesday email focused on content that really highlights resources for people during all this change. And we try to be inspiring. We also have an app that we mostly get out daily content on, but it's really designed for members to post things. We have CoralNet, which is members and non-members, but we do a lot of our announcement kinds of things there. And there's daily and weekly digests there. Trina manages social media on a lot of different social media platforms. So there's just a lot of hopefully communications, and some of them will break through to everyone, hopefully. But it's a tough communications world these days. And I'd like to underscore, because we have some new people coming on, there's always a little bit of confusion maybe in the beginning. If you should be receiving, you as leaders should be receiving all of those communications. You should be getting a monthly e-newsletter. You should be getting the Wednesday emails. You should be getting periodic leadership emails from me. So if you are not, we've got the wrong email address, or your system is, your security system is rough and in tagging ours as spam or something. So if you are not getting communications from us, contact Trina or I, and we'll figure out what the problem is. So that's kind of the national view, just so you're kind of aware of what we do from our end. And I'd like to now turn to a presentation by a number of our states. So it's really, I will say that, as much as we try to work at the national level, most of our members probably know and feel ACDA from their state. That's where they know people, that's where people know them, that's where most of them are able to go to meetings and seminars and read the local and state news. So your role is almost more important than what we do. So I've invited, I think 7 people, and that they each have just a very limited amount of time. But I thought it was important that you hear from a variety of states and a variety of ways that they're working right now. I'm asking each of them to keep to 4 minutes. If you have questions, put them in the chat room and we'll try to get to all of them or figure out how to follow up. But I'm going to move to the panel now. And first up, I have a video. Thank you, Diane. And is it Heaney from Minnesota? And she is currently in the 2nd year as president of ACDA in Minnesota, and in year 4 of the executive team. She's held prior positions as a district chair and an R&R chair, as well as the state choral vice president for MMEA. She's been a grade 9 through 12 high school vocal music teacher in Alberta Lee, Minnesota for the past 27 years, where she directs 3 curricular choirs, select extracurricular choirs, the annual fall musical and talent show, and gives private voice lessons. So I'm going to now try to share my screen and turn the video on. Are you seeing it? Nope. Shoot, I know this would happen. Oh. Just a second. I didn't really get to practice, so I'm winging it. Yes?
You'll have to share your computer sound, Sandra.
Oh man, okay, let me try again. I'm sorry for my ignorance, folks. Meeting controls. Oh wait, here I see. Scott, how do I share my sound? Share
You're
computer.
gonna need to unshare it and then reshare it and click the box share computer sound.
Okay, so I have to unshare it. Stop share. Okay. And then share sound?
Correct.
It's a box you check as you start sharing it.
Okay. And so I
Click the green screen, click the green thing, and this white bubble comes up, right?
yes,
And
yes.
it says, should be a place to say share computer.
Share computer sound. Okay. I'm so sorry and thank you for your patience.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diane
that
Hayden.
working?
I'm president of Minnesota ACDA.
Yes.
I join you today with a very heavy heart as the recent events in Minneapolis have sent our state, our nation, our world reeling with the death of George Floyd. And as choral musicians, our natural instinct would have been to gather with our people, our choristers, to sing, to protest, to begin to heal. And because of the pandemic, we're not able to do that either. It just compounds the sense of loss and frustration that we're feeling. It's a very daunting time, a sad time. We've built sort of a task force around partnering with leaders from several of our state organizations. Our MMEA, part of our NAFNE organization, G. Philip Schultz, who is representative of Vocal Essence, which is a wonderful choral organization based in Minneapolis, and representative from Minnesota Citizens for the Arts. So we do have a legislative voice in there as well, and members of ACDA. And we've asked people to join us in kind of a choral community roundtable via social media. And we've created a list of choral educators, choral musicians throughout the state. We're calling it Music Lives Here at Minnesota Roundtable. So our plan is to have bi-weekly webinars and just breakout room chats where we can discuss with each other and connect to people who are in the same boat and who might have similar interests or concerns. We're finding that this connection between people is really important. We're going to focus on what we can do with our singers, keeping connected, to encourage them to keep singing. And there's really four main ideas of our focus. Advocacy, keeping our programs, our choruses strong on the other side of this event. Well-being, so that we can mentally keep healthy and keep serving our singers. Reassurance that we can be useful and that we are doing everything we can, and whatever we're doing is good enough to keep everyone going and keeping afloat. We're also trying to keep abreast of the science, the accurate science, and the best practices given to us by the Department of Health. We can problem solve to make things work. We can do it. And probably the biggest thing is we're trying to build a toolbox of ideas, of resources, of how-tos for everyone to access. We want to make it kind of a one-stop shop because there's so many other organizations and people out there saying, oh, try this idea, try this idea. It's kind of overwhelming on social media. So we're trying to make it really local and make people communicate with each other to get some ideas and some resources out there. We're going to have a state ACDA board meeting in a couple weeks, and I'm going to encourage our district chairs and our R&R chairs to reach out to people that they know, that they don't know, that are near them, and become a resource person, a contact person for people to call on for help. We're just hoping to give to our membership at this time. We're trying to listen and answer their needs. As we go through the summer, our needs might change come this fall. And so we're not setting in stone what we're going to talk about at these bi-weekly webinars, but we're trying to listen to our people. We'll meet new people, and maybe they will be encouraged to join ACDA if they're part of another organization or just looking for some place to go for help. We want to be that place. And then if we have to cancel our next big kind of money-making event, which is our state conference in November, perhaps we can put more of a virtual conference out there and people will pay some money, and that might provide us with a little bit of revenue, and maybe even asking for direct donations to our organization. We already do that for the endowment fund. Why not to help support ACDA in this terrible time? We're trying to find new ways to connect with people. All of our events have always been in person. That's how we function. That's how we like to be. But people for a long time have been asking us perhaps for new ways to receive information that don't require travel expense or getting off of work. This is becoming more and more difficult. And so maybe this new technology, this new way of communicating will open up our eyes to some new things. And we need to do this with less expense for everyone. So we're looking for some good to come out of this and to connect with some new people. Thank you. And thanks for listening, and good luck to everybody.
Okay, thanks, Diane. Next up, Max Mendez from Idaho is going to speak, and he is current president of Idaho ACDA. He previously served as the 2-year college R&R chair for Idaho. He has chaired several Northwest ACDA honor choirs and presented at both state and regional ACDA conferences. Max.
Thank you, Sandra. Thank you for the opportunity to share just some of the opportunities and challenges in our state, our state chapter. A lot of what I'm going to say is going to echo some of the great the great points that Diane made during her presentation. And I think one of the things that we have great opportunity. We've had Idaho had a very successful membership campaign this year. And so that being said, one of our biggest challenges is engagement based on just our geography, our ability to gather as small groups and large groups, and that's compounded with the COVID situation that we've been living and having to maneuver through. But it's also given us some great opportunity to manage this challenge of engagement. I think out of this adversity is going to come a lot of great innovation, as well as opportunities for collaboration and mentorship within our state. So I'm optimistic about the opportunities of what is possible in outside of our status quo, what we've been used to doing and have called normal. So finding a way to connect that allows all voices in our choral community to be heard and valued. All too often, sometimes, especially in the social media world, it can be highly impersonal. Sometimes it's hard to. In this context, it's really easy to find tone through our nonverbals and our verbal language. And so looking for ways to connect that is not just based off of the restrictions of social media. And so that being said, I'm really looking to address the challenge of engagement by asking for collaboration with our R&R and R&S structure to create some similar opportunities from, as Diane stated, some chances to meet on a semi-regular basis through video conferencing platforms, to be able to see face-to-face and have conversations. I set up some guiding principles as I've been communicating with some of our R&R and R&S chairs that simply say we must rely on collaboration of thought and practice. So not just philosophical thought, but what is practical, what can be put into practice at all levels of resources. Whether you have a higher budget to purchase some of the high level resources that are available to us in this time, but also what is available to some of our colleagues that don't have that wealth of resource at their disposal. So creating a toolbox, again, echoing Diane's great ideas, that toolbox that really encompasses a wide range of opportunity for our colleagues. Also accepting the fact in this engagement that there's not one answer. That's not a one answer solution. there are multifacets concepts that have to do with what we are dealing with. As I'm sure everybody can attest, we have a diverse state with lots of differing opportunities and philosophies. And so looking at best practice is not just within our field, but it's negotiating with our districts, with our state agencies as what those best practices can provide. And I think the one thing that I really love is the idea of these conversations where all voices are welcome and valued, all ideas. So people coming to receive, but also there to contribute to the conversation and allow that to happen organically, which I find sometimes limiting in the social media platforms where and being able to engage in some more real-time engagement. So you know, I always find that engagement is about negotiation, negotiating with the stakeholders, and I feel like that's a great opportunity for us to do. Sometimes we go to our big event is a state conference, and we all gather from different corners of our state, and we have some really profound and meaningful engagement there. And then once that's over, we leave. And we disperse. I think again, this opportunity for innovation using some of the platforms that we've been having to access, not only with our students but also our colleagues, is a great opportunity for us to engage more face to face in a more meaningful and profound way. So we're excited. We know there are challenges ahead, but we're hoping that this at least summer break gives us some breath to engage and reach out to our colleagues.
Thank you so much, Max. Next up is Kathy Bott from Missouri, and she teaches grades 6 through 12 vocal music in St. Charles, Missouri. She has been the membership chair for Missouri since 1995. She's our most long-term serving and passionate membership chair in ACDA. She also serves as conference coordinator and recently added Southwest Division membership chair to her ways to serve ACDA. And she has a lot of best practices to share with you, but I've asked her to limit it 4 minutes. She does some really great things with new members and new member engagement.
Man, I tried to do a video, but then I'm so grateful that you shared with me Diane's video because mine was really dumb by comparison. So thanks, Diane. That was outstanding. Awesome. I'm going to try and share my screen because I really did do something, but I don't need to share the sound. I just need to get to it. Okay, so let me do that. Share screen. Oh, that's weird. How do I choose what I want? I just want it to be my thing. Here,
You'll choose a number, Kathy.
Okay, I'll just pick this. Let's try that. Not what I want. That's not what I want. Okay. I hate new technology. Oh, there it is. Got it. Okay. So, can you see that?
We see your inbox, your Gmail.
Oh, you can't see my, okay, so let me try that again. Stop sharing, and now we'll try again. Share, ooh, there it is. Share. Ah, no, we got it, don't look. Phew, there we go. Got it? Okay, can you see?
Yes.
Loading.
Yes.
Okay, hi, I'm Kathy. I'm the Missouri Membership Chair. Our challenges and responses, lots of things going on. Our challenges are, oh, I can't see what I wrote there. Challenges, recruitment. How do we find our new members? How do we recruit them? And retention. How do we put value? I got it here. I've got this over here too. It's funny that happened because my thing is, okay, this is eating into my time. Sorry. Boom, boom, there because the people on that screen are covering it. How do we provide value to our membership? So this is something right now, everybody is struggling and expenses are high. And you know what? $125 covers a whole lot of Starbucks. So why are people going to want to be members to this organization when, you know, they have other things to do? So we have to provide value for our membership. This is our response. Our responses are connect, content, support, and connection. And these three words are so important. They really kind of drive everything that we've been doing in Missouri and we're working towards. Content. So the internet is there. It is easy. It's often free, but it is very difficult to vet because you can get anything from anybody out there. And who do you know? How do you know what they're doing? And how do you know what they are? Instead, we provide within our membership a team drive. We use the Google Drive, and we have the Missouri Choral Directors Team Drive. And in that drive, we will be providing repertoire content, event planning, rehearsal strategies, lesson plans. I was going to do all kinds of cool fonts, but I was running out of time, so sorry. There's so much available within our team drive that we will continue to add, and these are vetted by our resource chairs and our leadership. We provide a monthly e-newsletter, and I had a conversation with Ginger. Shout out to Ginger there. She's another longtime membership chair, and for our state, the membership chair is the one that sends out information, and good or bad, I love it because it provides some consistency. People know who I am. They know that they get stuff from me. We do a new member welcome. We say thank you to our current members. We have a member service survey. Stephen Rue, our president, is on here. He created this service survey so people could figure out ways to plug in to the organization. And the thing is that you know because you're here, you get more out of something when you put something into it. And when people are just kind of, they don't know how to put something in, they don't want a leadership role, that takes a lot of time, but they could do a small task then. So now they have a way to do that. Great survey. I'm sure Stephen would be willing to share that with any of you if you wanted to do that for your states. We are now going to be doing an MCDA check-in. Are you okay? It can be, they could share their name. They don't have to share their name. But you know what? Right now, we need to know, are you okay? And if they are okay, maybe they would be willing to help someone who wasn't okay. I'm happy to share this survey with you if you would be interested in seeing it. Phew, that was it. Did I do it? Did I make it under 4 minutes? Am I good? Woo! Doing my happy dance. Doing my happy dance.
Thank you so much, Kathy.
I love membership. I wish we could, membership chairs, Ginger and I were just saying that. I wish we could talk on a regular basis or a semi-regular basis. I see you there, Margie and Kim. You guys are in my state. I want us to connect because we know best our members. And if we don't have members, then what are we doing here anyway? Okay, I'm done.
Yes. And one thing I think Kathy's been talking about this for a long time. I have others. We need to figure out how to do that with membership chairs especially, but I think in some states, especially some of our smaller ones, even presidents would be interested to focus on that topic on a regular basis. So let's figure that out this year. Next up, Wendy Looker from North Carolina is going to share with us. She is about to begin her second year as president of North Carolina ACDA. She has also served as auditions chair, chair of the state chapter's diversity initiatives committee, and R&R chair for World Musics. Dr. Looker is director of choral activities and professor of music at Guilford College, a small liberal arts college in Greensboro, North Carolina. Over to you, Wendy.
Hi. I'm sad that I don't have a cartoon. I apologize. That was super cool. In North Carolina, our big event is our fall conference in October. And in April, we made the difficult decision to cancel. There were just too many moving parts and too much uncertainty. So we decided, well, and I shouldn't use the word cancel, because what we really did was postpone. We took all of that content and we're shifting it to 2021. Our conference planning committee had worked very, very hard. So they turned on a dime, and the conference planning committee has been amazing. And we were compelled to provide something now that is timely and supportive and practical for our membership. And like folks in other states, we really felt it was important to connect. So we invited members and non-members, anyone who wanted to come, to a virtual conversation that we hosted on Zoom for folks to gather and brainstorm. And we had them sign up. Over 60 people in our state signed up. And when they signed up, we asked them to tell us what they felt they needed right now and what they might need through the fall, and what they felt was the most important things that we could offer them as support. So we had a virtual conversation on May 21st. And what we did was we took all the answers that they gave us, all the discussion topics, and analyzed that feedback and created lists of questions. We divided folks into 3 breakout rooms. We had a K through 12 room and children's choirs, community choirs. And then we had a collegiate room, and we had a music and worship room. So we broke them out. Board members and conference planning committee members facilitated using the list of questions to keep them on task. And they chatted for about 30 minutes and then came back and reported back what they thought was most important. So our conference planning committee then took all of that information, and we started planning a virtual conference series because we felt it was important to keep checking in. A couple of other people have mentioned the idea of checking in. Things are going to change. What we need as we kick off the year is not going to be the same thing we're looking at in October. So where am I in my notes here? We're getting ready to put the finishing touches on this conference series. It's a virtual conference series. And we're going to start on July 25th with a virtual choir boot camp run by Laura Sam, who's a local member. And it's going to be very gentle and very hands-on and very step-by-step for those who really need that, and interactive. And then we have 3 workshops or 3 conference days. August 8th, Tesfa Wondamaganyehu is going to join us and hopefully inspire us to start off our year. And then in September, we have Deek Sharon joining us. And in October, Jocelyn Hagen and Tim Takesh are going to talk to us and also perform as the nation. So on each of those days, in addition to having an inspirational guest, an expert, we are also going to have our local experts, our membership, give some interest sessions using the ideas we collected during our virtual conversation. And then we're going to have some breakout sessions, and that might include some kind of virtual reading sessions, maybe by R&R area. We're going to try to break people out in different ways into different groups each month because it's really important for people to talk to each other and learn and listen to each other, as we've all been saying and as we all know. The more we know about what our local colleagues are doing, the better we can advocate for ourselves, and the better we can support each other. And we're going to end in October. Hopefully we're going to try to do a virtual beer choir because that's important. So the end. I'm at
Thank you
4
so
and
much,
4 seconds.
Wendy. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is Amanda Hanslick from Connecticut. She is Director of Choral Activities at Edwin O. Smith High School in Storrs, Connecticut, and currently serves as President for the Connecticut ACDA. The E.O. Smith Chamber Singers were chosen as the Connecticut Music Educators Association Showcase Choral Ensemble in 2016 and 2019. And most recently as a select performing choir at the 2020 ACDA Eastern Region Conference in Rochester, New York. Over to you, Amanda.
Hi, everybody. It's so good to be with all of you. I'd like to recognize our Connecticut President-elect, Matt Harrison, is here, and as well as our membership chair, Dale Griffa. You guys could wave to the crowd. I'm going to share my screen, and we'll get going. Okay, can you give me a thumbs up? Can you guys see that? Yay, okay. So we definitely, we're dealing with all the same stuff that everybody else is. But we're gonna go in a slightly different direction and talk about some more state level advocacy that we've been going through in our state. We did send out a survey to our membership, probably in the end of March, beginning of April. We had hosted one virtual get together what would have been our all-state concert and festival weekend. We had our conductors, Jeffrey Dauma and Tesfa Wondamagniu, in for a virtual hangout session with our all-state conductors. And after that, we sent out a survey. And we asked people what they needed. We asked people what they were feeling. And the results came down to these three things. People were sad. They felt a lot of grief. They felt isolated. And they felt daunted by managing a virtual world, by having to manage technology in a completely different way. So we decided to have another happy hour. And the whole happy hour really was just a time for all of us to get together. And the big question at the beginning of our happy hour was, how are you really? And people let loose. They really did. And out of that happy hour, we just kind of started planning about what people wanted, what people needed. And we started planning, so I'll go back, these events that took us into a different mode of being together, which was great. The first one we did a reading session, which was amazing and different, and everyone muted themselves and sang and had a great time, had question and answer session with Roger Emerson, which was so much fun and really ran the gamut of just developmental levels, holidays, you name it, we sang it, and we just had a great time together. Then we were talking about what would have been actually, our spring conference on May 30th, about making that, gearing that toward the requests of the membership and having it be virtual. So we had a virtual choir workshop from one of our teachers in the state who's been really successful managing and navigating different kinds of tools for virtual choir creation. We had another reading session from some of our college members who are also executive board members. And then we had an advocacy session, which I hosted alongside with one of our other choral directors in the state, who's also a K through 12 arts coordinator. And upcoming, we have a songwriting workshop and reading session with Jim Papoulis next week. So we are definitely creating things for our membership that are both ways for us to connect. And we as an executive board really view all of these things also as membership attraction. We're looking at them as ways to connect with people, but also to promote the chapter. And all of these are free. We have decided as a board to offer all of these sessions for free. We had to start advocating. Obviously, we're advocating for our membership by getting them to connect with each other and all of the other things that everyone else has mentioned. There are so many different levels of advocacy. But for us, we had to jump in to state level advocacy really soon. It was really early for us and really necessary for us because our governor decided to create a Reopen Connecticut advisory panel and include everyone except for arts organizations. So our arts organizations quickly rallied and banded together and became very active in claiming seats at the table, so to speak. So I, along with many other leaders in arts organizations, wrote open letters to the governor. We connected with our local state representatives and made sure that those letters got to the appropriate people through the appropriate channels. And really importantly, we all started collaborating together. We, through the Connecticut Arts Administrators Alliance, we have created, oh, there's my letter to the governor. Several state chapters have borrowed it as a template. If you would like a copy of it, I would be more than happy to send it to you. Sandra also posted it in the advocacy newsletter a couple of weeks ago. So I would be happy to present that to all of you or to send that to you. But this is what came out actually today. Today, this morning, was released to the media. Couldn't be better timing. But all of these, you can see at the bottom of the graphic, all of these organizations have joined together to create this document, to send this to, superintendents, right? Principals, people who are looking at how are they going to be structuring school at kind of the ground level for the coming year. This is an overarching document that is many, many slides long. And we will, in a couple of weeks, I'll be working with this organization to create a choral discipline-specific, choral-minded application for the same distribution and the same reach. But this is where we are right now. And if you want to take a look at this last slide, this is kind of how our Connecticut Arts Administrators have chosen to word this. Each of the 5 pages will speak to different members of your community, an overview of major considerations, a rationale and key imperatives, a bullet list of recommendations for scheduling and social distancing, materials and supplies, technology, professional development, and guidelines for access and equity. I welcome and urge you all to distribute this document to your school boards, administration, communities, booster clubs, and anyone else you deem appropriate. I also suggest that as you are wrapping up this school year, you share the answers with personnel to the above questions as to how music education can remain in your district and our schools this fall. We know the why, push the how. So this is where we are as a state and what we've been jumping into and where we've kind of been contributing our voice. And in the coming months, we'll be contributing our voices really specifically to recommendations going forward for the K-12 choral world. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you very much, Amanda. And I saw your team jumping in to answer questions and offer resources and so on in the chat. So I hope we're going to save the chat, and this is for all of you. But I know Amanda has been kind enough to share some of the documents and strategies with us. We can help share this among the states, and I know everyone's interested in new ideas, and if you share yours, other people can probably benefit just like they have from Amanda's letter.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll make sure that everybody gets those resources. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Could you make sure that gets to the task force so that we can include that in the national task force? Just make sure that
absolutely, you bet. Thanks, David.
So next up in our panel is Jace, and I think it's Saplan from Hawaii. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jace, when you get on. He is the artistic director, and I'm going to pronounce this wrong, of the Nauai Chamber Choir and the director of choral activities at the University of Hawaii, where he oversees the graduate program in choral conducting and conducts the University of Hawaii Chamber Singers. Starting in June, he will serve as the president for the Hawaii chapter of ACDA and will continue to serve as the advisor for the University of Hawaii ACDA student chapter. So over to you, Jace.
Aloha, everyone. Mahalo nui to everyone that shared such needed thoughts and strategies for our community. So our biggest challenge in Hawaii was this. As K-12 schools started to begin or to finish their academic year in May, our governor discussed the possibility of a 20% pay cut for state employees in response to stabilizing our state economy. In Hawaii, no tourism means a shaking economy. Noting significant backlash, our State Department of Educators' solution at that time was to dismiss 50% of our performing arts educators. Most of these positions were targeted on our neighboring rural islands and in our Hawaiian-speaking charter schools. Now, this may come as no surprise to everyone, but we are a state of islands, and islands are separated by water. So one of our issues as a state organization was to create platforms of advocacy during a time when inter-island travel was not permitted, and advocating for our choral educators on neighboring islands that were not ACDA members at the time. Because our state organization is very Oahu specific, Oahu being the island that houses Honolulu, our state capital. Now, I grew up on the east side of Hawaii Island in a Hawaiian-speaking community called Keaukaha. I grew up very differently than our Oahu counterparts. And so something that our state needed to recognize, our state chapter, was island privilege. So our point of advocacy needed careful triage. We first and foremost created advocacy packets that included the Arts Education is Essential statement compiled by NAFME, ACDA, and other organizations. But the most important part was a culturally responsive letter that connected the ideas and statements at the national level and viewed them through our state and county impact. In our state letter, we code switched between English and Hawaiian norms and highlighted state-specific data. For instance, one of our advocacy projects throughout our state was to compile post-high trajectories and achievements of each choral student in our state. To no surprise, choral students were much more likely to graduate high school, graduate with honors, and have plans to attend a 2 to 4 year college. No surprise to our community, but this data was important for administrators and for the Department of Education to understand. We also compiled a visual fact sheet, and I shared both documents in the chat. These advocacy packets were then sent to the Department of Education, to our superintendent, deputy superintendents, and every single principal in the state of Hawaii. These packets were crucial for transform our interactions with our membership. We were invited to the Hawaii State Teachers Association assemblies. We testified, and because of that, we were given a seat at the table with a regular Department of Education and State Department of Health meetings to articulate solutions around current discussions around the safety of singing, to navigate data around singing, but most importantly, to ensure that our choral educators were given contracts. All of these things were accomplished. And we are now regularly meeting with our governor's office to provide guidance on how the state can support the performing arts. Also, we are beginning conversations with people on all islands interested in membership, because we showed up and we showed out. To further support our educators and out of necessity, our meetings became virtual and all islands participated for the first time in Hawaii's ACDA 50-year history. We made a goal for ourselves to never be in a position where we advocate on the defensive, because the very thought of seeing 50% of my K-12 colleagues without a job was horrifying. So we created a series of culturally responsive webinars and check-ins specific to our needs around sustained advocacy, navigating music and worship when the mayor declared churches could be open. And our next one will be on distance learning without technology, as many of our K-12 singers do not have access to computers. It was important that we start with the assumption that technology is not a guarantee. We also decided as a board to decolonize our leadership structures. While we still have traditional Eurocentric roles, we looked at our neighbor islands and assigned a mahi'ai, or a caretaker. Their roles included gathering with the choral practitioners on the island, checking in, and creating a list of needs and concerns specific to their own island. And we ensure that our agendas include an island-by-island virtual check-in. We have also designated a kupuna, and in many indigenous communities, an elder who provides counsel and keeps us in alignment with our collective vision. Now, our webinars are comprised of people throughout the entire state. We incorporate Hawaiian protocol and land acknowledgements. It is now a bilingual space to honor our native Hawaiian speaking islands such as Ni'ihau. And our state leadership reflects our entire island, not just Oahu and Honolulu. Advocacy, well, our lessons learned is that advocacy must be culturally responsive, and diversity and multiculturalism exists in stasis if it is purely performative and solely for the sake of visibility. As leaders, we needed to innovate towards structural change to ensure a collective voice, especially throughout this pandemic. these communities and our voice as efforts towards membership resulted in active participation. Mahalo.
Wow, thank you. That you have done amazing work. I'm so inspired by each of these presentations. For our last panelist, I'd like to introduce Jeffrey Benson from California. He is president of California Choral Directors Association and has served elected positions on the board for the past 8 years, previously serving as the Bay Area representative to the Executive Committee in California. So welcome, Jeffrey.
Thhank you, Sandra, and thank you all the other state officials who are sharing today. I will echo what a lot of everybody has already said. Our advocacy work has been happening in tandem with our state leaders in the California Music Educators Association. We have a strong partnership with them. And so our CBDA, the Band Directors Association, the Orchestra Directors Association, and then CMEA, we've all sort of kind of joined together. CMEA is leading the charge on that. So our advocacy situation does not look quite as dire as Hawaii's did, but it's still, like many states, we're still very nervous and trying to be as proactive and get out ahead of some of the decisions so that we are being just as proactive as we can. I just shared a link with you. One of the things that we immediately decided to do when COVID-19 began and the shelter in place happened in California is we created a webinar series every Tuesday afternoon. And we have had anywhere from 100 to 200 members join for these weekly webinars. I'll share just very briefly here kind of some of the stuff that we've been doing. Can you see my screen now? Yeah, so this is, we created a web page to not only give people information about sessions coming up, but also we've archived every week's webinar here, and you can click here and it'll take you to a YouTube link, and you're welcome to watch. These are open and free to the entire world to see, but we've put together a bunch of panel discussions over the 9 weeks now. We did little conduct TED Talks, that's just short little 12-minute conversations, and then some various panels. So that's been really helpful to connect our members. We were amazed that people were continuing every Tuesday. We all had Zoom fatigue, but folks were coming every week for that, which was really fabulous. And I sent you our website in the chat here if you want to go see any of those. Tesfa joined us for one, and Derek Fox, and a bunch of folks out of state. And then of course we used our in-state talent as well and provided those for our members. We're taking a break for the next month and a half, and we have pivoted to virtual conferences for this summer as well as fall. We normally do a big all-state conference in July, and then a set of region conferences in the fall because we're such a large state in California. But both the board, my executive board, and I decided to go ahead and move everything virtually for the rest of 2020. And so we have some teams putting those virtual conferences together, and those are going to be open to, again, obviously Californians in CCDA, but also folks from out of state as well. In addition to some of the work we've been doing virtually, we have also put out, we still do an actual magazine several times a year, and our magazine editor is just brilliant and pulled together a COVID-19 response in record time, and we got that out, and we're also going to be doing another issue in August that is specific to our current pandemic and how to teach. And then lastly, we, in addition to what I've already mentioned, we are moving ahead with the possibility of a virtual honor choir situation. We run our fall region choirs as well as, and then that is the stepping stone to All-State, and we run All-State as part of our California Choral Directors Association. And we are now putting together a panel and a committee to figure out how to do that virtually if we need to. We have not yet canceled All-State. That doesn't happen until February, March time, but we did cancel our fall region honor choirs, and we're looking to figure out how we could still provide some kind of event for our students in need. So that's what we're doing in California, and thank you to all of you for what you're doing, and Sandra for organizing this.
Thank Jeffrey. Wow, this was a great group of panelists. We really appreciate you taking the time to do this. I'm sure we could have 50 of these, but thank you for those of you who shared. Just very quickly, I wanted to tell you some things we're doing from the national office to help. And I almost think that one of the most important things we can do is serve as a nexus to help connect you all. I know you're doing it with other people, other states' publications and so on. And I'm delighted to hear that you're getting engaged in different webinars in different states. That's a great way to do it. In terms of specific membership programs from the national office, I've talked over some things with Tim, and one thing that we definitely want to do, especially given the declining student population even before the pandemic, was expand what has been called the Student Membership Initiative. In prior years, that's been a special $5 dues for the first year of a new student membership. And that's only for states that decided to opt in and pay share the subsidy with that. So they were paying $15 for the each student that joined. We're just going to expand that $5 student membership to every state. We're not going to ask you to subsidize anything. It's just going to be for all new and renewing students. So I hope that, you know, cost should not be a factor really. So if you can take cost off the table when you're thinking about your student recruitment plans, just get creative. When students go to join or when they go to renew, they'll just get the $5 price. And I'm seeing chats flash by, but I will follow up next week with all of this by email just to make sure we cover all the states. But we're excited about that, and I hope that we can really have a good push on getting student memberships in.
Sandra, one of the questions was, is there a cap on how many students?
No cap. No cap. Please get as many students as you possibly can.
And when does it begin?
July 1. So we're just going to do it for our fiscal year, which is July 1. So that's just under a month, and run it through June of next year. And we'll reevaluate that at that point. And Trina, I didn't have this in the program, but Trina kind of coordinates the administrative end of student chapters. And she's got a lot on her plate right now, but we'd also really like to think about student chapters in universities and colleges. I know a number of people keep telling me that the best way to get a student in and keep them, have them connect with other students. The second program is, in the past few membership drives, we've given out 10 comp memberships for active members, and just suggested that you reach out, use those to kind of reach out to other people who haven't been members of ACDA, and invite them in, give them a chance to experience ACDA. Given the struggles everybody's dealing with right now, we are going to give each state 20 comp memberships, partly because that's a manageable number. If you have great ideas, please talk to me and other ways to use them. But you can use those both for new members. So if they haven't been a member for at least 3 years or haven't been a member at all, you can use them for those groups. Also, we're giving you a generous permission to use those for hardship cases. If somebody, if somebody's facing a job loss or, a cut in time or something like that, we want to be able to help you be generous and keep them connected to their professional community. So both of those programs are based on things that we've done in the past, but we're trying to expand them to help you help the membership and get them through this time. The membership drive this year, we're still going to do one, will be September 15th through November 15th. And we're going to use the baseline of July 1 to kind of, help you measure how much you've grown or maintained. I mean, maintaining membership would be a really good thing right now. So with that, I'm sure there'll be questions about those programs. We can, if we have time at the end, we can talk about that. We can certainly talk about it after the session or next week. Can we also work on the collegiate chapter? Sorry, missed that. I'm going to turn it over to Trina. I know that many states have been waiting with bated breath about the member dashboards. We thought we were going to be able to roll those out to you, and I know those are vital to having current membership lists. I will write down the membership drive dates, yes, or Trina can do it. It was just, we rolled over to a new platform April 15th, and it just, we thought we were going to have them up, and we just have not been able to, but we have a solution. Scott Davis has been amazing, and he knows the urgency of having access to your member information, and so he has gotten not what he would have loved graphically up, but what we need in terms of like membership lists and things like that. And Trina is going to introduce those to you, show you how to use them, and how you're going to be hearing access. So Trina.
Hi, everybody. As Sandra said, we did not anticipate not having the dashboards ready for you when we upgraded to our new membership portal. But thank you so much for your patience. We really appreciate that. I'm going to share my screen with you. So give me just a second here. Can you see my screen? Okay, great. The way that we're going to do this time around, everybody, all the presidents, state presidents will receive an email from us soon, probably by the 1st of next week, with information on how to create a Gmail account that will be state and region specific, and then instructions on how to sign into your state dashboard. And it won't look like it used to. We're going to skip the dashboards for right now and just get you to reports. And I'm going to just pull up. You'll go to the Fontiva site, and you will get logged in. I'm not going to show you how to do all the logging in because that's going to take up a lot of time, and we'll help you with that when we send that information out. And I'm typing in Oklahoma for the Oklahoma State chapter. And it goes to log into the community. This is what it will look like for you. You'll see this disclaimer, and I guess I'll read the disclaimer to you. The data displayed here is the property of the American Choral Directors Association and intended only for the person authorized to access it. By using the site, you agree to the data herein will not be sold or distributed in any such way that is not in accordance with the National Office Policy Guidelines or Recommendations. And you will be able to share that with your membership chairs, however. So we'll go over here to reports, to all reports, and all the states will have these 3 reports. That should get you the information that you're used to working with. Current members. In this system, we found it to be a little slower than we're used to, but it gets there. There are we've had to, let's see, I'm trying to think how to say this. We have 2 different types of student membership. Those will go away. We're going to combine those here soon during the summer. But for now, they're separate. And you'll see your active membership. You'll be able to come down here and view your members. What we have found to be the best way to manipulate the data is to export it into Excel in the formatted report. You'll just click export. And we'll go back to the reports and look at it. All reports. Just Again, it takes a little bit. So these are the new members in the last 60 days for Oklahoma. And then, of course, if you have any questions on how to view these, how to work with them, you can always contact me and Sandra. This is very basic information, but it's the information we believe you'll use and will help you as you go forward. I think that's all I've got. So if you have any questions, again, just let me or Sandra know. And I will stop sharing my screen.
Thank you so much, Trina. There was one question about lapsed members, and that is a really key list that we need. Scott is working with our new platform people to get a more accurate lapsed member list. We're having some challenges and students that upgraded to active memberships, rather than showing as members, they're showing as a lapsed member and a current member. Confuse people. But if you need a lapsed member list, contact me or Trina, and we can probably help you out a little bit with that for now. Within a month, we'll have that fixed. So, you know, these are things that are available from the national office. You know your membership best, and we want to really provide the tools to you and give you the freedom to do what's best in your state. I know you heard from the panelists, I know from the responses that we got to that particular survey from states that you are all doing a lot of work in your state associations to keep ACB relevant to them. So we just, you know, encourage you to keep contact with your current members in the many ways that you are, to figure out a way to welcome new members. It's always good to thank renewing members in some way. We from the national office reach out to lapsed members a lot during the first 6 months that they lapsed, and then every quarter for, you know, 3, 4, 5 years. We don't like to let people go. But you know, again, anything that you do at the state level to back that up is a good thing. And I would also encourage you to keep in contact with Trina and I. We'd love to share the great ideas that you have or the materials you've developed. We just want to shine a light on all the good work that you're doing at the state level. Also tell us what you need from us. We try very hard to provide it. If we can't, you know, we'll try to do the best that we can. But we really listen to you when you tell us what you need, and we will work very hard to try to get it to you. We also really want you to share your successes. I think it's a great way to share good ideas among the states and teach the national staff like what works. So that's a really good thing. And again, the more you can keep in contact with the other states, I think the better. We're going to try to provide some more technology-based ways for you to do that over the coming year. But you've already figured out how to access other states' publications, other states' events. So do that. Lift each other up. Keep everybody's motivations up, and we appreciate everything you do. So I would like to. I think what we'll do, Mary, if you're okay with this, is if you can do the training that you wanted to do on the Constitution, election, and so on, then we will stick around for question and answer. Any of the panelists, we'd really invite you to stay with us if you're able. There are probably ways that, things that people have to ask you. And then we will be ending by 3:30. So Mary, to you.
Scott, can you make me a co-host so I can share a screen? I just want to say I can't even tell you how many resources you have now. I think I was just sitting here thinking about when I was a state president. It might have been close to 30 years ago, and there wasn't anything. I mean, you know, the resources we had were so minimal. And I can remember coming to this to the leadership conference and going, oh my, I learned so much. And I just am so thankful for Sandra and Trina and for the ability that they're giving you to know things and to share these ideas. So also a long time ago, I remember going to a conference. Oh, you're going to see everything here. And this isn't what I wanted. Sorry. Sorry. I can't talk and do this at the same time, right? I had your stuff open from your other. And Mitzi Groom, who was national president, was sharing a PowerPoint presentation about the Constitution. And it's probably the most boring thing we could do is to talk about the Constitution. But I just want to share a few things with you and some resources so you know, because I think, especially if you're a new president, there are things there that will be helpful for you to know. The Constitution has changed quite a bit in the last few years, and I want to talk about it, a few things. But if you go on to www.acda.org and you go to About, and you go to, if you haven't discovered leadership tools, you should, because that's the place to find everything. And under that, you'll find the Constitution and bylaws, which comes up as a PDF. We need to update it from the latest vote that we took, especially starting the new Midwestern region. But Sandra and I are going to work on that. There are a few other things that have been happening, so we just need to get to that. One of the big changes that we made in the last few years was the executive committee. And I just want you to understand this because it does reflect some way on your own boards. But we've changed the structure of the executive committee. So when someone is elected, then they almost immediately become the president-elect. And that's David Freiling right now. And then the vice president, who is Andre, is the one who runs the conference. The president, Lynn, is acting as president, runs the leadership conference. And the past president was Tom Shelton, make up the basis, along with the secretary treasurer, Tom Merrill, and Tim Sharp, the executive director. Since we just made this transition in the last few years, I've stayed on to be the sort of transition person. That's why this is the end for me, coming up in July 1. And then the national board, which met yesterday afternoon, consists of the executive committee, the region presidents, the national chair for the Committee on Choral Repertoire and Resources. That's the only standing committee chair that is elected by the membership, the industry representative, and the executive director. So we were surprised this year that some of the region presidents didn't realize that they were on the national board. So we're just trying to make sure that communication gets out there. In the region, the officers for each region should consist of a president-elect, and a past president. And there are things about election. Sandra's the one, we'll get to that in a minute, who will help you. You probably all know that by now. For your state officers, according to the Constitution, you should have at least a president-elect, president, and a past president. I don't think we have any states with fewer than 20 active members. So some of this language is probably old, which is a good thing for our organization. And the state president-elect it begins in July 1 of odd numbered years. So most of you probably have been president-elect or president for a whole year starting in July 1. And if we get off cycle, Sandra will help that with you. Many of you have many other kinds of positions on your board. That's fine, but you need to have those three. The president shall serve a term of 2 years, beginning in odd numbered years, and then you automatically become past president. And there are cases like Illinois, my friends from Illinois where I live, we've had an issue where we've had to make a change, and we just try to be flexible as much as we can and make things work. So that's important to know. Section 5, state presidents may serve no more than 2 consecutive terms, but may be reelected or reappointed after the lapse of 1 or more terms. The R&R committees are really up to your membership on your board. You have to have at least the 4 categories of youth, collegiate, lifelong, and repertoire specific. But we encourage you, and you probably heard from Gretchen this morning, to add as many specific R&R chairs that are important to your state. That's the thing that we want to make sure that they're important to your state. For example, boy choirs in Illinois, we have maybe 3. So it didn't seem, to have that seat at the table where it could have been along with the children in youth choirs. Some states may want to have a barbershop R&R. You can make up your own R&R too, for your own state. But it's up to you how many you want to have. You don't have to follow a prescription to have all 12 if you have trouble, if that seems too many for your board. And the 12 are listed here in the Constitution: children and community youth, middle school, junior high, high school, college, university, student activities, community choirs, music and worship, men's TTBB, women's SSAA, jazz choirs, contemporary, commercial, and world musics and cultures. I'm not sure where everybody's been, but in the R&R meeting this morning, or the one I listened to, we did change the name for men/TTBB and women/SSAA. I was involved in that discussion just to be current and aware of cultural things, but also especially the women's choirs felt like we really didn't want to take that name away from the women's choirs who've often had kind of trouble being represented. And then we changed world musics and culture. That's the new term for that. And that is not updated on the website yet, but in the Constitution, but it will be. I'm going to skip to your state elections. You should have nominees for a committee that includes not fewer than 2 of the state's past presidents. Use your past presidents. And this is an issue, Section 8, that you need to have 2 nominees for each office. And that, if there's a problem, talk to Sandra. We'll work things out. There are some states that have had trouble finding 2 people to run, but that's our preference, is to have 2 people running. And then when you get to the leadership tools, under the leadership tools, there are all kinds of things that can be helpful. And maybe you know all this. I hope you do. You probably were in the financial meeting this morning. The state president's handbook doesn't exist. I found that out. So don't try to click on it. Maybe somebody will make one of those up in the coming year. There's a region conference planning handbook, which could be helpful for you, even if you're planning your first state conference. The treasurer's handbook, R&R, read these guides, because that's how your R&R people will make connections to the region and to the national. It's very important that there's that kind of connection going on. And then I just wanted to point out, most of these forms you won't use, but I was working, she may be on the call, she may be on the call this afternoon, but I was working with somebody in Illinois on a fall conference, and it was like, where do I start with budget? How do I put the budget together? So I went here, and here's the regional conference budget template. Now, you're not a region, you're a state, but we looked at that, and all of a sudden it kind of came clear. Oh, I need to budget for this and this and this and this. So if you don't have that already, this is a really handy thing to use as a guide. These are, see, even more tools, and there's more. And the big thing important here is whose name is underlined. Sandra, she is just doing a great job of keeping you all informed and running the elections. And I'm just so excited about the connection that's being made. And that's all I have. So when we do the questions, if you have others, I'm happy to answer if I know. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary. Lots going on in the chat. So I'm trying to see if we have any questions to anybody that wants to be called on for a question to the group. If you would like to be called on, let me know. Everybody's saying, Mary, thank you so much. That was incredibly helpful. Okay. Are there any, actually, I would love to hear either Mary Hopper's or David Freiling's reactions to the panelists. Do either of you have any comments on that particular? They were so full of fantastic ideas. Oh, and Matlock too, after you all finished.
Yeah, I think yes. I'm just amazed. And I think the difficult time we're in now has I've just been amazed at how people have come up with ideas and organizing and sharing ideas. I really think, forget now, who was the first, I forget, that had those three things. We are going to connect with more people, I think, through this. And hopefully be clear that ACDA has something to offer, because you are offering so much right now. Yeah. Yes, content connection. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would just echo Mary's thought about the accessibility. There's 86 people on this call. We would never have 86 people in Oklahoma City. So there's always an upside to anything, and that is it. We are communicating, we are connecting, we are reaching across boundaries because of this. It's not ideal. We're all zoomed out, but it is a huge benefit to be able to connect to people. And it's sort of, I think it's also just broken down. Somebody said earlier that they really wish they could communicate more with their membership chairs, and the norm is now kind of broken down. It would have been weird 6 months ago to reach out over Zoom and say, hey, do you want to chat? But now it's just what we do. And so I think we're going to maintain that into the future.
Break some barriers.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Anne, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, both. Thank you, everybody. I had to miss this before I became president, when I was president-elect, because it was during a concert week, of course. And I'm so happy. I wouldn't have been able to come to this one either if we were really having a concert. I'm so happy that I can. And I did feel for the first year that I was sort of fumbling and reinventing the wheel. And I did look at all the tools and the Constitution and the handbooks. But I love that it doesn't really matter right now because we're all reinventing the wheel now because it's a completely new world. And the creativity, as someone said, of everyone is so wonderful, and that we don't have to reinvent the wheel because everyone is so nice about sharing it. So I think this has just been great. Now I had to get rid of my cat for a second because he was eating something on the table, and I missed something Mary was saying about world music and culture under maybe R&R categories. Mary, could you say what was that about? I'm sorry, I had to step away.
Yeah, we changed the name of the R&R area. What was it before? Ethnic music.
Oh, okay.
That to world musics and culture. Yeah, and Jeffrey Ames is the national chair for that right now.
Any other questions or comments? And just unmute if you have any.
I have a question. It's Karen from PA. Hey, everyone. We've had the discussion on the state level, like we want to offer events and make them open access. And I think now is our chance to attract people to ACDA through our various initiatives. But we also want to provide unique content to our state members to show them that we're giving them something in the absence of a conference, for example. So I would love to hear some people's thoughts on balancing those two things, if that makes sense.
Karen, that is the thing this is Kathy from Missouri. That is one thing we struggle with all the time. In a normal world, our conference, we open up our last day to anybody so that we are able to provide membership content for those who are there. But then also we can sometimes repeat some of those sessions and allow other people to come. We have had band directors who also teach choir come in, and on just that one day, we call it open access. Anybody's available to come. We've just started this within the last couple of years. I hope it continues to be able to. We weren't able to hold our summer event this year, but that's something cool. The other thing is our Facebook page is kind of open, and Stephen and I just had this conversation that we don't provide content within our Facebook page, but if somebody is on there who's not a member, as long as they're not selling anything, we're cool.
Anybody else with questions or suggestions? And Ginger Wyrick, you're probably the second most experienced member chair in this group. If you have any words of wisdom for us, we'd love to hear them.
Well, we're all trying to figure this out together, and I think that's the key, and that is that we will get through this, but we're going to get through it together. And I am just absolutely thrilled, Sandra, for you and the national leadership for providing the Zoom platform for this. This is very exciting, and for those that I'm getting to meet as I kind of hop around the country and get to meet my colleagues, this is just, as I said at the beginning, is energizing to me because we are so incredibly isolated and exhausted having moved online, and it is thrilling to hear what we're doing in our different areas, but your creativity is inspiring me, and it's giving me ideas, it's giving me hope, and it's all the things we've been talking about, how we move through this together, we strengthen one another by being together, we do our jobs better by being together. And so thank you so much to the national office and to all our leaders for the fine work that you're doing.
Can I ask one more question that occurred to me? I was at the treasurers meeting this morning, and I have heard this come out of ACDA before. My treasurer and I always argue about what the policy really is. But if a policy is that an event should be in the black, how are those of you now offering free webinars and yet paying your clinicians, which I think you should do? I think you should do both of those things. And so is that okay within the sort of rule of events should all be in the black?
I don't know if, Mary, you have thoughts on that. My understanding of that rule about events being in the black, and I'm not in that area, was that states, you know, we want your events overall to be in the black. So, you know, you can do free events and invest in them as long as you're, you know, not needing to be bailed out at the end of the year or something. But Mary, you looks like you have some wisdom.
I think that's really talking about conferences. You know, when you're building a conference budget, that you try to, I know, I think Lee Kesselman might be on this call. We've talked a lot because in Illinois, we have some funds available, and the board has been talking about, you know, has talked several years about how can we use that, you know, what can we offer with that. So if you've got the funds, I would say use them, and hope, you know, that would be, you don't have to, it doesn't have to pay for itself, I think.
What we have done in Connecticut over the past, you know, 4 or 5 virtual events that we've had, we're paying our clinicians, like Roger Emerson and Jim Papoulis, you know, we're paying these clinicians to come in, but we have reserve funds set aside that we've agreed as a board that this is worthwhile for us to go into that money, because we desperately want to provide for as many choral directors as we can. So like, what better way to use that money? You know, that's sitting there. Of course, it doesn't cost what a conference would cost. You know, it's a completely different ball game. But we feel that it's been worthwhile. That's been really worthwhile for us.
Sandra, if I could speak to that. This is Lee Kesselman from Illinois. I'm a past president and soon to be co-president again. We did decide some time ago that we should really be serving our members more. So what we did was, any event that we have student members pay a nominal fee that's less than the meals of the event. We actually lose money on any student who comes to anything. We are having a virtual conference at the end of June. It will cost something, but much less than a normal regular conference would cost. And we're doing many different kinds of things than we normally would do, trying to do things that are effective only virtually and not the things that'll just make us more sad for what we're missing. But I think we've sort of taken the approach that we should be losing money on many of our events. Not all, or else Marvin and the accounting staff will be all over us. But that there are events that really should probably lose money, and it's our goal to see if we can break even or close to it, of course. But we find that most of our events actually make money if they're good events, even though we're trying not to do that, or not trying to do that. If you have the kind of thing that doesn't really impact very many people, but they're important people who are never served by our organization, and sometimes that costs a little bit more. And then other things we do don't cost as much, and we're able to get people in the door.
Excellent.
If I may add to that, in New York State, we're looking at doing some introductions of our board members and using them as experts, and that doesn't cost anything. Those are amazing people that have an amazing wealth of knowledge. I know that I was on a panel with Amanda in Rhode Island. Thank you, Sarah, for inviting us. But we did that out of the goodness of our heart, and it was lovely, and it was really, really worthwhile. So if you're looking to do something quick and easy, a happy hour also doesn't cost anything. And I'll come, just invite me.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah, I would just echo that. Our whole spring conference was all of our members. It was just all Connecticut membership, so it didn't cost us a thing.
Yeah.
I agree.
Great.
So to say, without the cost of travel and hotels, guys, there's no reason why we can't be going to each other's conferences as well. That's a new door that's opened up in this virtual environment. And that's actually what Missouri decided to do. We're not doing anything like, we're going to have some sessions. We're going to have, not really sessions, we're going to have some virtual opportunities for our membership in place of our conference. And we're encouraging our membership to go to other virtual conferences in nearby states that had longer to prepare theirs, like Texas and Arkansas have already done a fantastic job in our division. And so our membership will be in Arkansas and Texas, and they're going to come back with ideas we never would have thought of that are going to make all of our content better down the road. So without that, I encourage you to go to different states. Why not? Now's the time. We've pushed Control Alt Delete on our whole world. Go somewhere else. Reboot the computer.
Sandra, is it possible to get those listed? Everybody, what everybody's doing, or maybe you already.
Yes. I'm just seeing that suggestion in the chat. If you all have things scheduled that you're inviting other states to, send me the details, dates, times, and how they get involved. I'd be happy to start compiling a list, and we'll figure out how to share that so that you can access it.
Somebody had a question about the women's TTBB. Oh yeah, I'm too tired. The women's SSAA, men's TTBB. That's how it's listed officially on our website. And here's my feeling in your state, if you're doing a honor choir and you want to call, you don't have to call it women's SSAA. You can call it SSAA. You can use what you want. What works for your community, I think, is the important thing. But we felt on the national level, we wanted to keep that designation. Does that make sense?
And yes, thanks, Mary. And just to clarify on the conferences that you all are hosting around the states, please send that to Sandra, not here in the chat. That way we can keep.
Yes. Thank you for that clarification.
I see it going up. There's all kinds of activities coming in. It's very exciting, but
Yeah.
it's best to send it to Sandra directly.
Yeah, so you all should have my email address, but it's S. Flansburgh, and that's a hard name to spell, but hopefully you received emails from me and you can send them back. Any other comments, requests, questions? This has been fantastic, everyone. I feel energized.
We hope you do too.
Yes. Okay, well, let's give you an extra 10 minutes on the break if no one has any further things.
Sandra, do you have,
yes.
Okay, 9 minutes. Hey, Sandra, do you have that list again of the membership chairs? And if we tried to start something before, and I think when we don't see each other, we kind of ignore because it's like, we don't know who this person is. But I am so hungry to talk to membership people. I mean, we love the presidents. You guys are awesome. Love what you do. But I want to talk to membership people. Who are my people? Where are you? I want to talk to you and learn from you and connect because we're important to us and we need each other. So, yay.
I will just say thank you, Kathy, that I know the presidents and the president-elects because we run the elections or at least, go after states to find out when those terms are changing and so on. I don't always know when your membership chairs are changing. So if you could remember, usually it's July 1, but I know sometimes you do it at different events or something. If you could email me at any point just to tell me, so Ginger Wyrick is serving another year as membership chair in her state, or Kathy. I know those guys are sticking around, but oftentimes when a membership chair rotates, I have to, track people down. If you can remember those appointed positions, just give us an email. We'll make sure that they're on the updates. So thank you, everyone. Dale Griffa has agreed to a lifetime term as membership chair of Connect. Thank you, Dale. I think that somebody volunteered him for that. Okay, everyone.
There was one more question.
Okay.
Would a membership chair team drive be possible? From Evan Powers.
Yes, but that is a possibility. Well, we could do something on a Google Shared Drive. I think there's supposed to be that possibility in our new member platform on Fontiva. We're not trying to do new things right now until we get the old things and the dashboards and so on up and running. but Kathy's saying Ginger and I have already started some resources already. So let's figure out a way to share them in the meantime. And then hopefully we'll have a better way to do that going down the line. And I will be in touch with all of you next week. It sounds like there's a hunger to keep in, at least some of us, to keep in contact. And I think this is one of the best ways that, you know, membership chairs can learn and try out new things. So thank you to all of you who shared, who asked questions, who commented. I hope that if you didn't, you're filled with ideas and going back to, and maybe have questions afterwards. Trina and I are here to help you. I know Kathy Bond in the past has offered to answer questions. Know that there are 2 groups on Facebook that you may want to be a member of. There's a membership chair group, and Kathy, what's the name of that? ACDA membership chairs or something. Both of those groups are private, so you have to get involved, but I will send that information out. There's also one for presidents and president-elects, and that's a great place to ask your peers questions or share ideas. Thank you. We will see most of you in about, 35 minutes. At the top of the hour will be the final plenary. It's going to be a great one, and I hope you are there to hear Lynn Brinkmeyer talk about advocacy and hear some of the other national leadership. Thank you very much. Bye.